Hello! Are you a fan of the Call of Duty games but have never actually played the games but you want to know what's going on? Because the only background knowledge you have comes from edits of Ghost and Soap? Yeah, I know what you've been doing. Well, as most Call of Duty fans can tell you, Season 5 of Warzone 2 is right around the corner, and the most notable takeaway from the trailer has been the return of the man that's well known for fucking off and dying, Phillip Graves. Yeah, he's not dead. I was very, very skeptical of his death because it's just like, it was really quick, kind of stupid. He was in the game, but it's like, before we can talk about Graves and his short stint in Modern Warfare 2, we have to talk about Alex Keller. Graves isn't the only character from the Modern Warfare campaign to have basically cheated death. Making his first appearance of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, Alex Keller, towards the end of the game, died. Or so everyone thought. He was charged with desertion and then kind of fucked off and blew up, or so everyone thought. Until he came back missing part of his leg in Season 3 of Warzone, the first Warzone. Warzone 2 is what's currently out with Modern Warfare 2. Call of Duty Warzone is a multiplayer battle royale style game similar to Fortnite. Yes, like Fortnite. It follows and connects to the events of Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 2019. Modern Warfare 2019 came first, then Warzone, then Modern Warfare 2, then Warzone 2. Modern Warfare 2 takes place in 2023, and then if you couldn't tell from the fucking name, Modern Warfare 2019 takes place in 2019. Didn't have to be a genius to figure that one out. Despite being a separate game from the campaign, Warzone does also have a storyline that connects to the main campaigns in the two main games. Graves made his first appearance in Modern Warfare 2, but was mentioned by name in other games, but was a completely different character. The rebooted games are not connected to the original games. Just so you know. Graves is introduced at the very beginning of Modern Warfare 2. He's the leader of a private military contracting company known as Shadow Company, which, there are Shadow Company employees that you can play as in Warzone 2. They are also briefly touched upon in the first Warzone game, so it's like almost a pattern, sort of. So it's like alongside having to do with Iran and Russia, you also have to deal with the Shadows at points in the game. He's referred to often as just like Shadow or the Shadow.
You need to call off your shadow.
Graves?
Yeah.
He's a dog with a bone, and I highly recommend you don't try and take it.
If you recall like how Alex speaks to him in the trailer for Season 5, he refers to him as the Shadow himself.
Shadow himself.
From the start, he's kind of painted out as the type of man that doesn't get his hands dirty. He's first shown at a missile control panel because he's helping destroy a weapons deal between Iran and Russia in Al Mazrah, which is a demilitarized zone, or a DMZ. Demilitarized zone? I hardly know her. This resulted in the death of General Gabrani, who was one of the main antagonists in Modern Warfare 2019, along with Russia. Because, these games are starting to feel more and more like real life, and it's starting to scare me. Just a little bit. Upon General Gabrani's death, he was replaced by Hassan, who is the main antagonist for Modern Warfare 2. As new high-ranking official of the Iranian military, Hassan, he supplies the terrorist organization in-game called Al-Qatala, which definitely doesn't sound like Al-Qaeda. So at the end of Modern Warfare 2019, Captain Price wants to put together a team which he refers to as Task Force 141, and he gets the clearance to do that from Agent Laswell, who works for the CIA and works alongside Shepard. If you're a fan of Call of Duty and you know that name sounds familiar, that's because he killed Ghost and Roach in the original Modern Warfare games. Reboots in the old games, not connected at all. Not connected. So Graves isn't part of 141. He is part of Shadow Company. He's the leader of that company. He owns that company. We love capitalism, baby. Just swimming in that shit. Throughout the whole Modern Warfare 2 campaign, if you've just seen the cutscenes like I have, or if you watched like a friend or sibling, or if you've watched gameplay, you can just tell that Graves has just been Shepard's lapdog because he's been hired to do something. He's being paid to do this. He's being paid to follow every instruction that Shepard gives him. As Soap finally put it when they were fighting Graves toward the end of the game, you're just Shepard's lapdog, and that's basically the best way to paint him. Graves and Shepard betray 141 and their allies Los Vaqueros, which is a Mexican special forces unit which is headed by Alejandro and Rudy or Rodolfo. The entirety of the Modern Warfare 2 campaign revolves around the misplacement of 3 American-made missiles. So during the first mission that you play as Soap and you are with Ghost and you're trying to find Hassan, which is, you've probably heard the audio of Ghost saying capture or kill. It's from the first mission where they're looking for Hassan. So the goal of the mission that you are playing as Soap alongside Ghost is to hunt down Hassan. And you don't end up finding him. He's not where you think he is. But instead you find a magical, random, American-made missile in a shipping container. And you're like, hey, Shepard, what do we do about this? And he's just like, oh, fuck. He's saying, oh, fuck, for good reason. Alcatala has ties with a cartel in Mexico. This is not a real cartel. This is a fictional cartel, as far as I know. This is when they learn that Hassan is hiding in Mexico. And we switch to gameplay with Alejandro and Rudy. He's found and then captured by Graves, Ghost, Soap, Alejandro, Rudy, and he's interrogated. Barely. No, he isn't even interrogated because legally they cannot detain him or interrogate him. They kind of just drag him out into the desert and rough him up a little bit. And he's just like, the West will fall. And then they're all just like, okay. And then they just let him go because, again, they legally cannot keep him. He says that to him. He's like, you can't keep me here. Alcatala and the cartel are working together. And so they decide that the next best option is to interrogate the leader of the cartel to get the information they need. The leader of the cartel is assumed to be a dude named El Sonombre, which the people in the Mexican town that Rudy and Alejandro are from, they treat him like a god, not like a god, but they think him very highly of him. They discover El Sonombre's identity as Valeria Garza, who Alejandro knew because she was once part of Los Vaqueros. She was once part of the Mexican Special Forces until she became a drug cartel leader. And she made a very fine point of, as long as there's a war on terrorism, they won't pay attention to the war on drugs, so she could just continue to make money anyways. Through interrogating her for a first time, they kind of just keep her in a ship. There's a lot of shipping containers in this fucking game, man. They have missiles in them, people in them, more missiles in them. She gives them the location of the second missile. For reference, it's explained later on in the game that there are 3 missiles in total. So Valeria gives you the location of the second missile that you're looking for, which is in the middle of the ocean on an oil rig. And Shepard gives them the order to go and destroy the missile. So they get on a boat with Graves and the gang, and they go and blow the missile up. It's basically like a bunch of it's not like a bunch of puzzle games, but you have to do shit on a timer, and it's really intense and stuff, and Graves and Ghost are yelling at you the entire time because, again, you're playing as Soap. Once the missile's destroyed, you return to Mexico, and you go back to Alejandro and Rudy's base, and Graves breaks the news to them, hey, I'm stealing your shit. He's taking the base. Alejandro's like, you can't do that, this is my shit. And he's just like, all your men have already been detained, bitch. It's too late. So this resulted in a shootout between Soap, Ghost, Graves, some other shadows, Alejandro, and Rudy. This resulted with Soap getting fucking shot, him and Ghost run off in separate directions, Alejandro gets knocked out, Rudy runs off too, Rudy goes back to another base. That will be talked about in a sec. So the next part of the game that you play is you're basically running around in the city as Soap, who's bleeding out looking for Ghost, like, Simon, and then they find each other, get in a car, and they go to the new armed warehouse location that only Ghost and Alejandro talked about, and Rudy. And Soap's like, what do I get to know? Like an angry child. Before they go to the warehouse and you're running around as Soap, you hear some of the shadows, killing civilians, and they made the plan to meet at this warehouse in case shit went south. Ghost, call that bitch prepared, man. Hats off to him, honestly. When they're at the warehouse, they make the plan to rescue Alejandro and get everyone together. Round everybody up so they can take on Shepard and Graves. Because clearly, something's up. And not everyone knows what the fuck is going on. At this point, we learn that Graves and Shepard had other motives. And that Shepard sent the shadows to Mexico to kill Soap and Ghost. because they knew about the missiles and figured out that, how are there American-made missiles here? How'd they get there? Basically, running around with leashes on without even realizing it this entire time. So Ghost, Soap, and Rudy make their way back to the warehouse, and they also get help from the rest of Task Force 141 with help from Gaz and Price. They get Alejandro and his men, they climb into vans, and they drive back off to the armed warehouse, leaving Graves in the shadows at Alejandro's base. And so, on the ride back, we get filled in by Price about what's really going on. We get a flashback sequence from 2 months prior, which is narrated by Laswell. The flashback explains that the 3 missiles, were once in Shepard's possession, and he was sending them over to allies of America in the Middle East. To execute this mission, he had hired Shadow Company to transport the missiles. But, in classic video game fashion, shit goes south. And the convoy got ambushed by Russian nationalists that were, the main antagonists of Modern Warfare 2019, and the missiles got stolen by Russia. And then those missiles were given to Iran. So, again, that first missile was found by Soap and Ghost during the first mission of the campaign. You can't mistake an American missile if the giant shipping container has a fucking American flag on it. At that time, Hassan was supplying Al-Qatala with weapons to fight, Americans and, terrorism things of the such. And they were working with Las Almas, the cartel. During their mission, Ghost and Soap were in direct contact with Shepard and Laswell when they found that missile. And then when they got the location of the second missile, Shepard sent them to go find it. Because he's just like, oh no, they're finding out. Ooh. So, because the work between Shepard and Shadow Company was off the books, they wanted to keep it buried. And when 141 got too close to the truth, Shepard went, oh shit! He panicked, peed his pants a little bit, and everyone can now see the dirt on his hands. Shit was that man's fault. All his fault. Him and Graves. His little shih tzu that sits on his lap and sometimes pees on the couch. Price, once they return to the arms warehouse, Price gets in contact with Shepard and's like, hey, the fuck was that? Shepard's reasoning, man says, when we shit, we bury it.
To do good, you've got to do some bad. When we shit, we bury it. That's how it works.
Yeah. We don't bury each other with it, do we?
Yep, that makes sense, sir. Not a very valid reason, but you're a video game antagonist, so, I'll take it. So after their call with Shepard, they go back to Valera and they go, hey, bitch!
You knew there was a third missile.
Oh, I didn't count them. I have people for that.
She's lying.
Where's the son?
Where's the other missile?
Chicago.
And then they're like, oh, fuck. And so the whole affair quickly went from international to domestic in a matter of seconds. So because Shepard and Laswell are both American operatives, regardless of who's siding with who, this was a problem for both of them to have to fix. In response to all of this happening, 141 and Los Vaqueros made a combined merger team, which they referred to as Ghost Team. And they all donned that classic ski mask with the skull painted on it. Their goal was to take down both Shepard and Graves. But first, when you're gonna go fight an angry homeowner and he has a guard dog, you probably want to shoot the guard dog first.
This is your last chance to change your mind.
Then what?
Then after I go for him, I'm coming for you.
So they suit up and they return to Alejandro's base, and they show up, they're like, alright, Graves, and motherfucker pulls up with a tank. And then Soap is like, oh, you didn't tell me Graves had a tank. It's like, bitch, sis, you're on a military base. Of course there's gonna be a tank. What do you think? It's a lot of, like, punching and dodging and shooting, and Graves insulting them and saying stuff, and Soap's like, oh, you're a snake, and he's just like, I'm a soldier, and then they're just like, not the same thing. And they do blow up the tank and flip it over, and it's on fire. He's assumed to be KIA. Dead. So, after Graves is dealt with. Ghost Tube travels from Mexico to fucking Chicago in helicopters. That's very far, but, you know, video game logic, even if it does feel kind of realistic, that is a far distance to travel with fucking helicopters. They go to handle the third and final missile, and Shepard's there. They go to deal with him too, and wouldn't you know it? Woo! Yeah! Special guest Hassan! So yeah, you kill Hassan, you deal with Shepard, and all is well. They're all basically war criminals, I guess, because Shepard's like, oh, they didn't do what I told them to do. And yeah, there's a kind of a, I would say wholesome, but then it turns into, you know, the thing with Makarov and the plane, shot up an airport, but I can see why they had to make changes to that. We don't know how Graves lived, how he got out of that flipped over tank, or theorists have even said, what if he wasn't even in the tank? What if he was controlling it remotely? But then again, who knows? And we only know that he's alive because of the trailer in Warzone and how Alex addresses him. By saying, oh, it's him, Shadow himself. And Alex even says,
Heard you died in a tank in South America.
and then Graves just like, what else you heard? He looks fine in the trailer. Like, he's not missing any limbs or nothing. We aren't gonna find out until they release his bio for Warzone 2 for Season 5 in the next few days. We're not gonna know until then. I'm excited. I'm excited to see those cutscenes and see what happened to that man. I really am. So yeah, that's what we know so far about Graves supposedly cheating death, and we're not gonna know more about it until the release of the Season 5 Battle Pass for Warzone 2. Thanks for watching. To all of my Call of Duty girlies out there, I hope this helped, and now you actually know what's going on in the game without having to watch an hour-long video about the cutscenes or watch some person do the playthrough. Thanks for watching.